I saw her car first. Then I saw his truck next to it. 2 vehicles, 1 motel, room 14, curtains shut. My name's Derek Holt. I drive long haul for a freight company out of Reno. I was supposed to be 3 hours out, finishing a run to Sacramento. Traffic backed up on 80, so I got off early, took a shortcut past the Sierra Vista Motel on the edge of town. That's when I saw Amanda's blue Corolla parked outside room 14. My wife, 6 years married. She told me that morning she was driving to her mom's place in Carson City, said her mom's back was acting up again, needed help around the house. I pulled into the lot across the street, cut the engine, sat there staring at that car like it might explain itself. Next to it, a gray pickup, Nevada plates. I didn't recognize it. I checked my phone. Her last text, sent 2 hours ago. At mom's now. Might stay for dinner. Her back is bad. Love you. I called Carol, my mother-in-law. Picks up on the 3rd ring. Derek, everything okay? Hey, Carol, is Amanda still there with you? A pause. Amanda? Honey, I haven't seen Amanda in almost 2 weeks. My stomach dropped straight through the seat. She said she was coming by, said your back's been bad. My back's fine, Derek, fine as it's been all year. I thanked her, hung up, and just sat there, 20 minutes, 30, watching that door. Then it opened. Amanda stepped out first, adjusting her jacket. A man came out behind her, 30 maybe, gym-built, the kind of guy who spends more on his watch than his car payment. He said something and she laughed, that easy laugh she used to save for me. He put his hand flat on her back like he owned the space. She didn't move away from it. They walked to the cars together. He leaned in at her window. She kissed him, not a quick one, a real one, both hands on his chest like nobody in the world was watching. I was 50 feet away, watching every second of it. He got in the pickup and pulled out first. She sat in her car another minute, checking her makeup in the visor mirror, like she was getting ready to walk into a room full of people who trusted her. I didn't follow her, not yet. I followed him. 3 cars back the whole way, staying loose so he wouldn't clock me. He drove about 12 minutes, pulled into an apartment complex off Sutro Street, parked in a numbered spot like he lived there. I wrote the address on the back of a delivery slip and sat outside another 10 minutes just to be sure. Then I drove home. Amanda beat me there. She was in the kitchen when I walked in, stirring a pot, steam rising off chicken Alfredo, her favorite thing to make when she wanted the house to feel normal. Hey, you're home early, she smiled, like nothing in the world was wrong. I thought you had a late one. Traffic cleared up. I set my keys down, watched her stir that pot like her hands hadn't been on another man's chest an hour ago. How's your mom? Oh, you know, same old back pain. I helped her with some laundry, made her lunch. She didn't even blink saying it. That's good of you. We ate dinner across from each other. She talked about her mom's garden, some show she wanted to watch later. I nodded in the right places, asked the right questions. The whole time my mind was running the math. How long had this been going on? How many other mom visits were really something else? How many dinners had I sat through not knowing? After she went up to shower, I sat alone at the table with my phone, pulled up our shared account. We'd linked our cell plans years ago to save money, meant I could see call logs if I wanted. I'd never once looked. I looked now. One number kept showing up, weeks of it. Long calls, late at night, always on nights I was out on a run. I sat there in the quiet kitchen, staring at that number, and I understood something clear as day. This wasn't the first time, and she had no idea I already knew. If you've ever found out the hard way that someone you trusted was lying to your face, drop a comment below and let me know how you'd have handled that dinner table. Subscribe if you want to see exactly how far this goes.
I didn't sleep much that night. By morning, I had already decided I wasn't going to say a word. Not yet. If I confronted her now, she'd have a story ready. Women like Amanda always have a story ready. I needed proof so solid there was nowhere left for her to run. I told her I had a 5-day haul lined up, Reno to Phoenix and back. Standard route, nothing unusual. She kissed me goodbye at the door, like always, told me to drive safe. I didn't go to Phoenix. I parked the rig at the yard, rented a plain sedan from a lot 2 towns over, nothing Amanda would recognize, and set myself up in a diner 2 blocks from our house. Corner booths, coffee that never stopped getting refilled, clear view of our driveway through the window. Day 1, she left the house at 10 a.m., drove straight to that same motel. Different room this time. I sat in that sedan across the street for 3 hours until the pickup showed up again. Day 2, she drove to the Sutro Street apartment instead, stayed 4 hours. I sat in the parking lot pretending to be on my phone, snapping photos every time the blinds moved. Day 3, they got braver, met at a restaurant downtown, out in the open, held hands across the table like a couple on a normal date. I was 2 booths down, wearing a ball cap, ordering food I never touched. By day 4, I had a folder full of it. Timestamps, photos, the address, the plate number on his truck. Trevor Ash, according to the registration I pulled. Insurance salesman, 31, divorced once already. I took everything to a guy named Grant Whitfield. My cousin's old business partner had used him for a contract dispute, said he was sharp and didn't waste time. His office was above a pawn shop on 4th Street. Nothing fancy, but the man knew what he was doing. He laid the photos out on his desk and went quiet for a minute. "How long you think this has been going on?" he asked. "I don't know. Weeks at least." He flipped to the phone records I'd printed, ran his finger down the call log, stopped, then kept going. And going. "Derek," he turned the paper toward me. "These calls go back 8 months." I stared at the dates. 8 months. That wasn't a mistake, wasn't a moment of weakness. That was a second life she'd been building right under mine, one lie at a time for almost a year. "Any joint accounts? Property?" he asked. "House is in both our names, 1 shared checking account, no kids." "That makes this cleaner. Nevada's a community property state, so we split evenly, but a documented pattern like this helps you in mediation, shows exactly who checked out of this marriage first and when. What do I do right now?" "Don't say a word to her, not yet. First, we protect what's yours. Move half of that joint account into something separate today if you can. It's your legal right, and once she knows you're onto her, money starts disappearing fast." I transferred $11,000 that afternoon, left the rest untouched so she didn't notice anything different. That night, my phone buzzed, a text from Amanda. "Miss you so much, can't wait till you're home." I sat in that rented sedan outside a hardware store, staring at the message, 8 months sitting in my chest like a stone. I typed back, "Miss you too, home tomorrow night." Then I drove to the yard, dropped off the sedan, and picked up my truck like I'd actually been in Phoenix all week. Walking up to my own front door the next evening felt different than it ever had, like I was about to sit down to dinner with a stranger wearing my wife's face, and she had no idea the version of me walking through that door already knew everything.
She was waiting at the door when I walked in, same as always. "There he is." She wrapped her arms around my neck. "I missed you so much this week." "Missed you too." I said it flat, no feeling behind it, and if she noticed, she didn't show it. She'd made chicken Alfredo again, my plate steaming on the table, garlic bread on the side, the whole spread, like she was trying to prove something to herself. Sit, you must be starving after that drive." We ate. She talked about her week. Book club Tuesday, lunch with her sister Friday, a trip to check on her mom on Wednesday. Every single one of those a lie, and I knew it because I'd sat outside watching the real version of her week play out on Sutro Street. "You're quiet tonight," she said, setting her fork down. "Everything okay with the route?" "Long week, that's all." "You should take tomorrow off. Rest up." "Can't. Got another haul lined up." She nodded, went back to her food, like the conversation was over. I watched her chew, watched her hands, watched the woman I married 8 months into a lie she thought I'd never find. "How's your mom doing? Back still bothering her?" "Better, actually. I think the rest did her some good."
That's funny, I said, because I called her Monday. She said she hasn't seen you in almost 2 weeks. Her fork stopped halfway to her mouth. What? You heard me. Derek, she must have misunderstood. I stopped by and she wasn't even... Stop. I set my phone on the table, screen up, a photo of her outside room 14, Trevor's hand on her back, then the kiss in the parking lot, then the apartment on Sutro Street, then the restaurant downtown, her hand wrapped around his. The color drained out of her face like someone pulled a plug. It just happened. I never meant for it to go this far. Nothing just happens for 8 months. That's a choice you made every single week, every text, every lie you told me at this table. I know I messed up. We can fix this. Counseling, whatever you need, I'll end it with him tonight. Don't bother ending anything. I stood up, pushed my chair in. I already filed. The room went dead silent. Filed what? Divorce. This morning, my lawyer had you served at your work around noon. Her hand flew to her phone. She scrolled, and I watched her face change as she found the emails sitting there in her inbox, the one she must have missed between texting Trevor and driving home to lie to my face over chicken Alfredo. You can't do this, she whispered. I already did. Derek, her voice cracked, this is insane. We can talk about this. What's insane is you telling me you were at your mom's house while you were kissing another man in a motel parking lot. I'm done talking, Amanda. She looked up at me, and for the first time all night, I saw it land, really land, that the man sitting across from her wasn't the same man who'd walked through that door an hour ago. That version of me had already made every decision that mattered, days ago, in a lawyer's office above a pawn shop. What happens now? She asked, barely audible. I picked up my plate, walked it to the sink, and didn't answer her.
Amanda stayed at a hotel that first night. I know because she called me twice, crying so hard I could barely make out the words. I let both calls ring out. Didn't feel good doing it, didn't feel bad either. I just let the phone buzz on the nightstand until it stopped. I didn't sleep. I lay in that bed alone for the first time in 6 years and stared at the ceiling fan turning slow circles, thinking about 8 months of lies stacked on top of each other like bricks in a wall I never saw being built. By 6 the next morning, I was on the phone with a locksmith. Guy named Pete showed up at 8:30, drilled out both the front and back locks while I stood on the porch with a cup of coffee going cold in my hand. Took him 20 minutes total. 20 minutes to close a door that took 8 months to break. Amanda showed up around 9. I heard her car before I saw it. That same blue Corolla pulling into the driveway too fast, tires cutting sharp against the curb. She was out of the car before it even finished rolling to a stop. Derek! She was already banging on the door before I opened it. Derek, open up! I need my things! I opened the door and stood in the frame so she couldn't push past me. I already packed you 2 suitcases, I said, and set them down on the porch in front of her. Clothes, your toiletries, the photo box from your side of the closet. That's everything you're getting today. She looked at the suitcases like they'd personally betrayed her. This is my house too, Derek. It is, and I'm the one living in it right now. You want the rest of your things? We do that through the lawyers, on a schedule, with somebody standing there to make sure nothing gets damaged or walks off. You can't lock me out of my own house, Derek. That's not legal. Already checked. My name's on the deed, same as yours. I'm inside. You're not currently residing here, and until a judge says otherwise, that's how it stays. Her face crumpled, and for a second I almost felt something. Almost. Then I remembered the 2 of them walking out of that motel room together, his hand flat on her back like he'd done it 100 times before. I hope you're happy, she said, voice shaking, gathering the suitcase handles in both fists. Not yet, I said, but I will be. She drove off with the tires screeching again, same as the day I told her about the divorce.
I stood on the porch a long time after the sound of her engine faded down the block, coffee gone cold in my hand, before I finally went back inside and locked the new locks behind me. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in Grant's office on 4th Street, that same cramped room above the pawn shop, waiting for Amanda and her attorney to show up. Grant had the folder open on the desk already. Photos, phone records, the printout from the county assessor's office showing the house value. Amanda walked in with a woman I didn't recognize. Mid-40s, sharp gray blazer, the kind of calm, careful expression lawyers wear when they've done this exact meeting 100 times before. Patricia Ruiz, her name turned out to be. Amanda wouldn't look at me. She kept her eyes on the table the entire time, hands folded in her lap like she was in church. "The house is valued at $310,000, Grant said, sliding a paper across the table. Current mortgage balance is $180,000. That leaves $130,000 in equity. Under Nevada's community property law, that splits evenly, $65,000 owed to your client, Miss Ruiz." Agreed on the number. My client would also like it noted for the settlement record that infidelity has already been well documented here. She tapped the folder without opening it, like she already knew exactly what was inside and didn't need to look again. "It's relevant to how quickly we'd like this resolved." Grant glanced at me. I gave a small nod. We both knew what that meant. She didn't want to fight this in front of a judge. She wanted it over. "I want to buy her out," I said, once Patricia and Amanda had stepped out to talk it over privately. "Keep the house. I'm not selling it because of something she did in it." "You've got $65,000 sitting around?" Grant asked. "I'll take a loan against my retirement account if that's what it takes." He nodded, pulled out a fresh form, and started writing. 2 weeks after that meeting, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't have saved. It was Kayla, Amanda's sister, someone I'd always gotten along fine with at holidays, back when I still had a reason to be at those holidays. "Thought you should know. Trevor broke it off with her last week, told her the divorce made things too messy, too much drama for him to deal with. She's staying with Mom right now." I read it twice, sitting in my truck cab in a gas station parking lot outside Fernley. Didn't feel satisfaction exactly, just the flat, quiet click of something landing exactly where it was always going to land. He wanted her when it was stolen afternoons and a locked motel room. The second it turned into real paperwork and real consequences, he was gone, same as smoke. The divorce finalized 6 weeks later. I paid Amanda her $65,000 in a single transfer straight out of the loan. She signed the house over without contesting a single line. Patricia told Grant her client just wanted it done, didn't have the fight left in her to drag it out any longer. Amanda moved in with Kayla over in Sparks, picked up work at a call center, started renting a 1-bedroom off Pyramid Highway. I know all this because Kayla kept texting updates for a while, out of habit more than anything, before those texts stopped coming too. I didn't feel much hearing any of it. Whatever I had left to feel for Amanda, I'd already spent sitting in that rented sedan outside a motel 8 months of lies too late.
The house was quiet for the first time in years. Not the tense kind of quiet where you're sitting across the table from someone waiting to catch the next lie in real time. Just quiet. Empty in a way that felt earned instead of hollow. I kept the locks Pete installed that first morning. Never saw a single reason to change them again. First thing I did about 2 weeks after the papers finalized was rip out the kitchen. Amanda had picked every piece of it years back. The tile, the cabinet handles, the color of the backsplash, back when we still thought we were building something permanent together. I stood in there alone one Saturday morning with a crowbar in my hand and started pulling cabinets off the wall myself, one screw at a time. No contractor, no help, just me and the dust and old paint chips settling on the floor. It took 3 weekends to finish. My hands were raw by the end of it, knuckles scraped, a couple of splinters I had to dig out with a sewing needle. But it felt better than any conversation I could have had with her.
Every cabinet I tore down felt like one less thing in that house that remembered her name. I put in new counters, a dark granite instead of the pale marble she'd always wanted, repainted the walls a flat gray instead of the cream color she'd picked out of a magazine a lifetime ago. Got rid of the living room couch entirely, the same one she used to curl up on next to me some nights, telling me she loved me while Trevor's number sat warm in her call history 2 rooms away. I hauled it to the curb myself and didn't feel a thing watching the junk truck take it off the next morning. By the time I was finished, there wasn't much left in that house that remembered her at all. It felt like mine again, maybe for the first time since we bought it. I threw myself into work for a while after that, took the longer hauls other drivers didn't want, picked up extra runs whenever dispatch offered them, sometimes back-to-back with barely a day home in between. Some of the other drivers at the yard asked if I was trying to run myself into the ground. Maybe I was. Kept my head down, kept the miles rolling under the wheels, let the highway do whatever it's supposed to do for a man trying not to think too hard about 8 months he can't get back, no matter how many roads he drives. About a year after the divorce finalized, I started talking to a woman named Renee. She worked dispatch at a different freight company based in Sparks. We crossed paths on the radio sometimes, nothing personal at first, just route updates, weather calls, the occasional joke over the line to kill time on a long stretch of nothing. One slow Tuesday, she asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime when I had a day off, and I said yes before I'd really thought it through. Renee already understood the life. She knew what it meant when I said I'd be gone 4 days straight on a haul, knew it wasn't code for anything else, knew the schedule wasn't something either of us needed to apologize for. We took it slow on purpose, no rushing into anything, no moving in together after 6 weeks just to fill a silence, no promises made before either of us had actually earned them. About 4 months into seeing each other one evening over dinner, she asked me about Amanda, not in a prying way, just curious the way people get when they're trying to understand who you were before they walked into their life. "You ever regret how you handled it?" she asked, turning her fork slow against her plate. "Some guys would have tried counseling, tried to work it out instead of ending it so fast." I thought about that question longer than she probably expected me to, long enough that she almost asked if I was going to answer at all. "No," I finally said. "She didn't make one mistake I could forgive and move past. She made a choice every single week for 8 months. Every lie she told me across that dinner table was a decision, not an accident. I can forgive an accident. I can't forgive 8 months of them." Renee nodded slowly, like she was turning the answer over her head. "Fair enough," she said, and left it there. Didn't push, didn't try to talk me into feeling differently about it. That was one of the things I liked most about her from the start. I heard through Kayla for a while, before those updates eventually stopped coming altogether, that Amanda was still renting that same 1-bedroom off Pyramid Highway, still working the call center job she'd taken after everything fell apart. I didn't feel much of anything hearing it. Not anger anymore, not pity either, just the flat, distant feeling of hearing an update about a stranger's life. Some people get a second chance because the person they hurt still has patience left to give them. I didn't have that patience, not after watching her lie to my face over chicken Alfredo while Trevor's text sat waiting on her phone. I had 8 months of proof, a lawyer who moved fast, and a decision I made in about the time it took her to walk out of that motel room. I don't regret a single step of it, not the rented sedan, not the folder of photos, not the locks I changed the very next morning. I sold the house about 2 years after the divorce finalized, not because the ghosts were still hanging around, they'd been gone a long time by then, but because Renee and I wanted a place that was ours from the ground up, no history baked into the drywall, no memories sitting in the corner of every room. We found a smaller place across town, closer to her route, closer to a life neither of us had to rebuild out of somebody else's wreckage. The last thing I did before handing the old house over to its new owners was walk through it one final time, room by empty room.
I stood in that kitchen I'd torn apart with my own 2 hands and thought about the version of myself who used to sit at that table pretending he didn't already know exactly what his wife had been doing for 8 months. That version of me is gone now. What's left is a man who finally learned the difference between forgiveness and being a fool, and who isn't interested in confusing the two ever again. Some people don't deserve a second chance. I learned the hard way that I deserved a lot better than someone who could throw away 6 years of marriage the moment she thought I wasn't looking.